Morning, buddy. How are you doing? So good to have you on our podcast this morning.
Good morning, Matthew. How are you?
So good, so good. I'm super excited to be diving into this and learning more about you. I've been going through the stuff that you've sent us, and it's super interesting about what you're doing. And I'm really, really excited to share with our guests today your story and how you help people. So let's dive in, shall we?
Okay.
So tell us where your journey started and what it is that it's all about.
Okay, cool. I was born in Egypt a long time ago, and I'm a mechanical engineer. So I like to analyze things. I don't like to do anything. I just like to analyze stuff and numbers. And I came to Canada 30 years ago. I've been in corporate for a long time between oil field, manufacturing, high tech company like BlackBerry, and insurance. And the last 6 years, I've been a professor teaching people project management, operations, supply chain in some colleges and universities. But that's not really my passion. My passion is, or the thing that I wanted to solve when I was like 20, when I graduated my university, is I want to be wealthy. And I read this book called Cash Flow Quadrant that told me that forget about it. You'll never be wealthy if you stick to a 9 to 5. So it's a really good read for everybody, your listeners, if they did not read the book. So because my father was not a millionaire and they did not really teach me that, because all of my years when I was a kid, the focus was don't do anything other than study and get grades. It's like you need to be having a really good job, which I did, but that was not the answer. So what I did is I started with real estate investing. And in the beginning, you learn from a lot of people. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them are predatorial. I remember one of the courses I was there, they told me you have
Yeah.
to treat the tenants like really bad. You have to screw them. Like I don't understand why, but anyway, so I did a lot of mistakes in the beginning in real estate, but I did very well as well. But my story really started 15 years ago. I thought that anyone who invests in the stock market is an irresponsible person. Like, if you're responsible, then you do real estate. And the reason I had this is that everybody around me was losing money. So, of course, if everybody's losing money, it's a casino, then you're not responsible. Anyway, I went to some courses to basically prove to myself that I'm right and the person who's talking about stock investing is wrong. But I was open to open up my mind. And I discovered that actually there is a method. It's not that it was not there, it's just that I was so closed mind wise. There is a method to responsibly, it's not a get rich quick scheme. There are rules for the market. You need to understand, like if you have a dog, you understand the behavior of a dog. You need to understand the behavior of the market. There's a repetitive behavior. And if you don't understand what you're doing, if you treat the stock market, the stocks like lottery tickets, you will get the results as if it's a casino. So basically, that's my story. I founded Legacy Wealth Builder Academy, and right now I'm coaching people how to invest in stocks and options in a responsible way.
It's awesome. So you're in the wealth building space and you're helping, you're coaching, you're educating people on the nuances of investing in the stocks specifically, but you also have a background in real estate, and that's part of the wealth building process as far as what I can understand.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct. To be wealthy, basically, there are, other than the 9 to 5, there are like main three things: real estate, stock market, and owning a business. Okay. So at some point of time, any serious person that wants to accumulate wealth has to be in the three, but he can't start with the three. Owning a business is not that easy, and lots of effort. It's much easier to start in real estate and stocks. Each one of them has its positives and negatives. Like, one of them is very liquid compared to the other. One of them, you need to deal with tenants. The other, you can be just an introvert and do it. Like, there's a lot of good and bad in both. But I do believe that everybody should be in both at some point, the three of them at some point of time, just that you stick with one, you start with one, you learn it, because you're going to make mistakes. You do well in it, and then you go to the other.
And so you have a system called the growth system,
Correct.
GROWTH. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna dive into that in a little bit. Let's take a little bit of a step back. What has been your transition? Because you're managing this business. You're a CEO of the Legacy Wealth Builder Academy, and you're helping professionals create sustainable wealth through strategic options and investing. Now, take me a little bit of a step back. You went from a transition. You said you're working in your job. Now, I'm always interested in this, going from a career to a business, because this is the very first step for me. When back in the day when I was working in a job, also a high-paying job, I called it the golden handcuffs,
Yeah.
and it kept me for
Yeah.
way too long
Yeah.
in that regard. But tell me, what was the transition like going from being in a career where you're doing good, you got good skills, to moving to going into entrepreneurship, which is like 100 times harder.
So I really like what you said because it's really golden handcuffs. If you have a high paying career, it is very hard to leave it because especially in the beginning, like if I compare two people, somebody is taking a $10,000 salary versus somebody who's taking the $100,000 salary. It's much easier for the person who's taking 10,000 to jump and go to build a business because chances are if the business is going to pay you 30, it's much more than the 10. But how is it that you're going to leave 100K to go to a business that you have to pay a lot to sustain it and make it up and go and just leave the 100 to get 30? So I didn't really leave corporate except very recently. So like, my transition was in steps. Number one, I've been in corporate for a long time, 9 to 5, giving all my best there. And
Yeah.
after work, I had this extracurricular activities of buying, selling, buying properties and doing the stocks for a long time. And it takes a little bit of time to compound and get something. And then because I was in manufacturing, there's a lot of restructuring happens in manufacturing. Because in Toronto, especially my 10 years in manufacturing or 15 years manufacturing high tech, most of the manufacturing jobs were being shipped to China and they fire the people, they lay off the people there. So I went through that phase, like BlackBerry, for example. When I went in, there was 20,000 people working BlackBerry. When I got the day I got restructured, there was like 1,500, 2,000. So like they got rid of 18,000 people. So my last corporate job was director in Lean in Sun Life. And after I left there, I decided that I don't want to go for a 9 to 5. So my first transition was to go to part-time, few part-time. And I said, I want to do something that is very flexible because I want to like enjoy a little bit of time. So all of my professor years, I used to teach in 2 or 3 colleges and universities, but I really love the job because you're only required to be in the class time, let's say 5 to 6 p.m. And then you can mark the students or do whatever you need to do at 2, 3 a.m. at night. So it gave me, I did not have to be physically 9 to 5 in any place, which is really great. So last year, for example, I went for 2 months to Egypt and all of my coaching and all of my like lectures at the universities and colleges went, of course, the classes were at 2 a.m. in the morning, but again, it was fine. It was good. So that was one. And then when I scaled down from the professor duties, and now I'm giving all of my time there. But it wasn't 100% job to 100% entrepreneur. It took a little bit of time, and I agree with you, or I think you're right. Is that the higher your salary, it makes it more difficult to leave the known to
Transition.
oh yeah, the transition
So,
more difficult.
so that's a very interesting journey. So you're being very strategic about the transition. You're being very strategic about how you're doing your growing into your business. And you've been very strategic about the whole process of investing. I'm pretty sure that in your context of everything, patience is probably one of the key ingredients in all of this. And I can probably gather that. We'll dive a bit into that in a minute. But I really like that because a lot of people want instant gratification. They want things to happen super quick, and they want this whole like that we live in this world of instant gratification where we don't have something now, forget about it, and then people give up. And that's why a lot of people, I feel, a lot of people struggle and fail because they're not really committed to a long game. Now, my journey, and I talk about this quite a bit, is that when I was in my career, I was caught in these golden handcuffs, and I kept leaving the job to go and pursue my own business. But every time I left, I would get this call from the people, my bosses and that, and then they would be offering me more money or offering me more bonuses. And I got caught up in this vicious cycle for about 5 years of going, leaving, starting, finding it getting hard, and then the call would come, and they'll be like, "Ah, this is," and I'll go back into this thing, and so I eventually had to burn the bridges, so to say.
Mm.
And at one point, I had to just cut it off because I was in this vicious loop in my head. And when I did that, it was kind of from there to there,
Yeah.
which is a little bit of a different journey too. But I had to put my back against the wall
Yeah.
because that was the only way that I could move forward. For everybody, it's obviously different. The one thing that I love about what you've just spoken about is that your persistence and your strategy to manage your risk over this period of time as you're transitioning, which is huge, and it also helps when you're investing in real estate and stocks to have that kind of
Yeah,
mindset and
but
mind
it
frame,
also
right?
shows you that I'm a coward. I should have done it much quicker. But I think this is one of the issues of engineers in general is that because our work has a lot of analysis in it, we actually think that
Yeah.
analysis is work. Because for us, it is work. You
Right.
get paid to do that. But in the entrepreneurial world, analysis is nothing. You're doing nothing basically. Like analyzing a deal or
Right.
a real estate deal for 2 years, you actually did nothing. So it's
Yeah.
always was so mesmerized with people who I do believe that they are not, they don't have a lot of high IQ. They don't have a lot of education. They don't have a lot of money. And I see them in 2 years doing 10x, having 10x success than me, and I didn't really understand it. It's very simple. It's the difference. It's the, in project management, the way I teach, there is something called the traditional approach, and there's something called agile approach, which is a new one. It was really
Yeah.
invented for software people. Software people said, you know what? We don't want to work for 6 months and then give the app to the customer after 6 months. And then the customer tells us, no, this is bad. I don't want it. Go start from the beginning. The traditional way of doing things is to plan and go one step first and then go to the other. The agile is very different. Instead of working for 6 months, you're going to work only for 2, 3 weeks. You're going to do something that is not perfect. You're going to show it to the customer, and the customer will give you feedback. And because you're getting feedback every 2, 3 weeks, the the advancement in what you do and the progress is humongous. So same thing with somebody with theoretically high IQ that analyzes everything but does nothing. There's somebody who doesn't have a lot of IQ but takes action. The people who take action, it doesn't have to be the right action. Success is a function of action. It doesn't have to be the right action all the time. They 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 do it. If it works well, they do it again. If it didn't do well, they will just learn from the mistake and launch it in a better way. So in 5, 6, 7 months, 1 year, they are so ahead from somebody else who has the money, has the intelligence, has the education, but doesn't do anything other than analysis. So it's a problem with all engineers that they are slow. They're trained to be slow, which is not the right thing. Just opposite to the character that you need to have as an entrepreneur.
Love that. I love that. Yes, action taking is one of the fundamental parts of running a successful business. I love that you brought that up. I'm going to do a post about that. That is a very deep and a very poignant discussion. That agile process is really what we need to be thinking about in business, right? It's like do something, get it out there, and then grow from the feedback. Grow from the feedback.
Yeah. And there's no progress without that. Even if you're training for basketball, like you have to throw a lot, get feedback that you're not getting it or getting it well, or that, but there's no other way. You cannot sit down with a piece of paper thinking that mapping everything out. But that's the problem. The problem is in engineering, we are trained to do that. We think this is the right way, and rightfully so, because we don't have another chance to build a bridge. If the bridge fell down, a lot of people will die. So I get the point, but you can't have the same thing with learning how to swim or running a business. You have to start doing action, small risks, small actions, limited risk, so that you can progress.
Good. I love it. How well have you done in your real estate and investing? Tell me
So
what's the successes
in
you've
the
had?
beginning, I did so many mistakes. I was into something called no money down deals because I didn't have a lot of money. So
Wow.
I used to find deals whereby when I close, they give me money. There's some tricks you can do, all legal,
Yeah.
like you close on the third. Anyway, and on paper, because I was very good at analysis, it shows that the type of properties I'm buying is cash flowing like crazy. I'll be swimming in money. What I did not understand is that because I was targeting cheaper type properties, quite bad areas, like areas that are not really great, like level C, like C type, proper C type of tenants. The tenants never paid rent 100% of the time. I think my collectability metric, I invented a metric, was 80%. So the maximum I could get out of them is 80%. Like it's the type of tenants where you go to meet them and somebody's drunk coming out saying, rent is too high, I can't buy more beer. Even with that, I did not lose money. Like it was so forgiving. And because it's not that I thought I would have a lot of cash flow, but I didn't have cash flow, but it was breaking even. So I didn't really lose. So I did that for a little bit. And then I again pivoted to better areas, good areas, A-level properties in A-level areas. And it was much more expensive, but it's a night and day in terms of appreciation, night and day in terms of you don't have to do a lot, like, in terms of maintenance and tenant problems and stuff.
Yeah.
So I did very well. At some point of time, I think overall I transacted about 40 transactions. Right now I have about 4 or 5. These are the ones I kept. Overall, I'm very happy. Right now we're going into a cycle.
What's the value? What would be the considered value of the current portfolio that you have?
2-3 million.
Full. Love it.
And right now we are in quite a bad spot because the interest rates, I guess probably in Australia too, interest rates are extremely high. So the properties that were cash flowing before, when you come to the time to refinance it, like my rate was 2%. If I have to finance 6 and 7, here goes the cash flow. But anyway, it's cycles and we understand. But overall has been really good for me, real estate.
Amazing. I love real estate. Real estate is how I got into business as well. Me and my partner started investing early in cash flow real estate. We have a little bit of a different model here where I don't know if you know what rooming houses are.
Yeah.
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 So we invested in that model and it did really, really well.
For students?
Sorry?
For students?
International students. Yeah, Australia has a lot of international students. There's a big market for that. And also people in the workspace as well, right? There was a lot of people in 30s now that don't have money to buy houses or they got a job,
Yeah.
and they just want to live with other people. So it's been a really good model that I've enjoyed doing. So real estate is a fun thing for me to talk about.
It's like I have this graph or a chart that tells you the difference between the middle income people in the US and the high income or high net worth. So the average of the average, like normal, is a net worth about 250K. For the high net earners, it's about $10 million net worth. And like if you have a chart of dividing the 100% of what they own, 62% of a normal income person in the US is in just his personal residence. That's it. It's something that does not give him money, right? It's not income producing money. The high income people, 85% or 80% of what they own is the 3 things I told you: real estate, business equity, stock market, right? 3 things that are like income producing assets. So it's very simple. If you want to go from here to there, we have to do what they do. We have to shift from whatever we're doing, most people are doing, or the education system is pumping all of these people that are doing 9 to 5 and all what they want is to get a job and buy a house and that's it. That's not the way to be wealthy. Like, it has been proven already. So you got to do something different. And it's hard for people because they associate it with, like, even my mom right now, 50 years old. My mom does not understand what does it mean you don't have it. She doesn't. Like, why don't you go get a job? Like, I'm working. Like, is the objective is to work hard? I'm working hard in my business. Is it like, but she thinks that 9 to 5 is the ultimate success. I explained to her, if I go back to 9 to 5, that's for me is a failure, mama. But she doesn't get it. So for her, the objective is the job, not to make money. So I tell her, is like, if I can make money, if I can make the salary working 1 hour a day, mama, do I need to go and have a 9 to 5? And her answer is, of course. Otherwise, you're going to be useless. So the mentality is very different. Like it wasn't easy.
So I understand that, yes, and it's so true. There's a mindset shift. If you want to be wealthy, you have to understand the mindset shift to taking the investment that you have and turning it into more capital or more cash flow. One of the big things I teach people as well with real estate, real estate coaching, because we've got a real estate coaching business, is that if your real estate is not making you money, what's the point of having it? It's just going to dry you. Your income is going into a property or an asset that's just draining the money that you're getting from your job or business or whatever, then you're losing money. That property, if you take that same investment and it produces equity or cash flow, like it's an income generating asset. So go and rent a place, go and live in a place that's cheap to rent
Yeah.
and invest your money into a real estate asset. Let somebody else live in that property, let them generate the income and build your wealth that way.
I think one of my biggest mistakes is that I was treating, or I was convinced that buying a personal house is an investment. And I was so convinced with that. But recently I'm starting to change my mind, thinking that if I was renting, it feels good to own a house and settle down and stuff. But I don't think it was a good investment decision. Like, if I took that money and put it somewhere else, I don't know. I'm debating still. What do you think? Is owning a personal house a good investment?
Not until you got that position. For me personally, this is how I look at it. And this is in my real estate journey. Is I've never actually owned a property that I've lived. I've owned many properties, and we own many properties. We still currently rent,
Okay.
and even the properties that we rent, we turn them into business assets. So we run our business from those properties that we rent. So
Yeah.
one of the strategies that we've done is we obviously we speak to the owner of the
Your
property
mortgage,
that we're renting
your
from, and
mortgage is tax deductible, basically.
exactly. And in the rentals that we have, we speak to the owners and we say, can we convert your garage into an office? And then we run our offices inside of the rental property, and it's just all that money that we're saving goes into investing.
Very nice.
That's how I've done my journey.
Yeah. So I was slow in learning that lesson. So it's not that my personal house didn't appreciate it very beautifully, but I'm always having difficulty trying to do the math of, if I did not have that and rented, how would have it panned out? I'm just like trying to
Yeah,
figure it out.
yeah, it's so good, and it's a good debate because some people have that in their psyche that to own a property is to own your life, right? Is to be in control of your life and to live in that property, have a house and home. And we live in a society where that's been drained, pumped into us for generations. Got to buy your property, got to buy your property. And the first homeowners property market is huge. So, and we it's always going to be like that until people get smarter and realize the reality is that if you want to be wealthy, you have to turn your money into regenerating assets and creating that cash flow and wealth. Like you said, business, investing, and real estate. Those are the three key
Yeah.
ones. So tell me,
Yeah.
let's go a little bit
You have,
deeper into
you have to get yourself
your story.
yeah, you have to get yourself out of it, basically, by having enough income producing assets to put yourself out of the 9 to 5, right? That's the only way, is to get yourself
That's
out.
what you've done, right?
Yep.
And that's what you're teaching people.
That's, I
100%.
think the main thing is that it's doable. People don't think that it's doable. It takes time. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It takes time, but it's doable. But it takes time.
Yes, 100%. I agree with that. Can you share some of your success stories that you've had over the while doing what you've been doing?
Okay. Can I talk about the growth system first before we, so that people know what we're talking about?
We'll get into that in a minute. But let's just talk about what are some of the successes and maybe your clients or you that have
So, for
experienced
example,
from
we have, there's a lot of stories whereby people who do not have a lot of money, 10K or something, and they're so afraid, they're so risk averse, which is okay because I'm risk averse too. And when I talk to them in the beginning, they have there's no sliver of hope in the way they are talking, that they can actually make money with stocks or options. And options is very risky if you don't know what you're doing. So I have like at least 5 or 10 people of those, whereby it goes step by step. I have a 12-week mentorship program. So it's not just a course you go and take. It's very hands-on. And it's amazing. You see the transformation from week 1 to 2, or completely confused, completely like what is it that you're making us do? And the way I do it is it's completely risk-free, because I get them to do it in a paper trading account. Paper trading account meaning they're not don't use their money. And that's the responsible way of doing it. You can't learn how to drive a car by taking it to the highway. That would be stupid. So same thing, you can start applying a strategy. You don't know if you can do it correctly or not. You don't know if Fadi is teaching you correctly or not. You got to try it in a paper trading account. Paper trading account is an account where they give you $1 million monopoly money, but everything is the same. It's simulated. It's exactly the same as the market, same stocks, same prices, everything. And if you make money, you don't take it. If you lose money, it's so it's like, you're not worried to lose your shirt when you're doing paper trading. I tell people you don't have any business going to live trading before you prove to yourself that you can make money with paper trading, that you are completely familiar with a brokerage ad, that you completely made
landscape.
mistakes, right? So it's amazing the transformation that you go from I don't know anything to Fadi, I want to go to live trading. Like it's not that they're taking my permission, but I tell them in the first 10 weeks of the training, don't even talk to me. The answer is no. And if I catch you doing any live trading, you're out of the program. Because I had this guy who's an MBA graduate. He has an MBA, and he told me, Fadi, I'm very smart. I'm going to start live trading in 3 days. And I had to just pull the guy down, just cool down. And he got it after 5, 6 weeks. He said, like, I would have lost my shirt if I started, because people are very naive in terms of, if you go to the street with the mentality of a 2-year-old, oblivious that there are cars going, like, what are you expecting? Like, you got to make an accident, right? So, and part of my system is, if you spend 1 hour learning a strategy, you need to spend 3 hours understanding how other people lost money in the same situation. Because if you don't understand that, you'll be the next. So I always preach that making money or getting the highest ROI is not the objective. The first objective that you should never forget is you protect your capital, especially in the stock market. It's not as forgiving as real estate. Remember, I told you I made a lot of
Yeah.
mistakes in real estate. I still didn't lose money. So, but in stocks, it's you gotta really know what you're doing, and it's not that difficult. But much more important than the ROI is protecting your capital. So I teach people um, that risk and ROI is the two faces of exactly the same coin. You cannot disassociate both. If all what you see is ROI, please understand the risk is there at the back of the whatever you do. And it doesn't matter if you understand it or not, or aware of it or not, or think it's there or not, it's there. It's your job to figure it out so that you can, so that you don't get. So I have one, just to come back to the results. I have a lot of people graduated, starting live trading. So happy. I check on them every 3, 6 months to just figure out what they're doing. One of my students, 21,000, one of the testimonials I have, did 21,000 in 3 weeks. Again, it's not get rich quick. So his account was a little bit big. So I always tell people that the ROI that should be targeting is 24%. Because some people come to me saying, I want to double my money every 2 months. Like, what are you talking about? Like, in what world can this happen? Here's the problem, Matthew, is that a lot of ads out there tell people that I did day trading. I got $100,000 last month. Day trading is a very easy way for the masses to lose money. It's such a hoax, and it needs a lot of time, lots of skill, and very few people that I know made money consistently in it. Ask anybody who told you that I made 100,000. Ask him how many accounts did he blew or did she blew, because that's what they do. They only show you the good stuff. Okay, like if you got 100,000, how many $1 million did you lose to get this 100?
Yeah, yeah, too true.
Yeah, so it's not slow. 24% meaning double your money every 3 years. That's not slow for me. But the reason I try to level set people to the right goal, because I tell people I'm in Toronto. If I want to drive to Florida, it takes 24 hours. If my goal is to reach Florida in 3 hours, if I have to be true to my goal, what will I do? I have to drive at 900 kilometers per hour because I need to be there in 3 hours. So, and Everybody knows that if I'm driving at 900 kilometers per hour, even if the first hour I did not have an accident or the second, it's a matter of time. I'm gonna be involved in an accident because it's too fast. So 24% is for me is a good level of ROI whereby the risk can be manageable, known and mitigated. So that's the
Very
cheap
good.
way in the growth is goal setting is to have to if you have the right if you have the wrong goal, you're not going to reach whatever you need to reach correctly.
I, I, I just want to go a little bit of a step back. I really liked the context of how you're mitigating the risk. I think this is one of the key elements, and I think it's a really good mindset that you have in this whole process because if you dive into the deep end without your floaties on, you're going to sink to the bottom of the water, right? And I love the idea of how you're helping people get the mindset shift with a paper trading type of process because I think teaching people in that realm or that context, for me, I can imagine, and I've never done this process, but I could imagine it's if you're doing the trades and you see the results, it's motivational in that you can see results, number two. And on top of that, you've eliminated the risk where you're using your own capital. And so you're spending this period of time with people, helping them build solid foundations, which is one of the most important parts of trading and investing. When you know your mindset, when you know the foundations, you can now take that and use it in the real world. So many people just want to go, oh, I want to make money straight away. You were talking about them. I want to double my money in every 2 months. Like you can't do that. It's very difficult without maybe 10 years or the 10,000 hours of practice and making mistakes. Now, what you're doing is you're eliminating the 10,000 hours of mistakes because you've already done it and you're giving people a smaller time frame, but they're going to learn faster than 10 years in a 12-week program, but they're building the foundational steps.
It's
So a 12-week program, so over 12 weeks, that's even better, right? It's amazing. 12 weeks, you're getting people this whole core mindset shift and an understanding of the deep core system building processes that you've developed. I love that. You've simplified it for people.
one of the popular lectures that I have is on my YouTube. It's called Market Myths and Behavior. So people are so much misinformed about the market, and they have so many like myths about it. Like for example, one of the myths is that the market should go up. Like the right way to do it is that the market should go up all the time. Market does not go up all the time. We have the statistics. We know every year goes down twice 5%. Talk about the US stock market. Every year is going to go down by 10%. Every year and a half is going to go by 15. Like, and we know the numbers. And the way I tell them, it's like somebody breathing. It doesn't matter how much I inhale. I have to exhale at some point, right? Like, of course, like if a mother thinks that her child needs oxygen, so he needs to be inhaling all the time. And as soon as he exhales, she thinks there's something wrong and needs to get a doctor. But that's wrong. That's a normal market behavior. Every 3 years, 3 to 4 years goes up, 1 year goes down. Like 3 units of measure goes up and 1 unit going down. Overall, it's going up 10 to 11% for the last 100 years. But it's not going to go 10% every year. It's going to go 15 minus 3, 12 minus 4, and that is normal. And I try to get people out of the speculative day trading mentality to somebody who's an investor. Yes, I use options. Yes, I do some trading, but it's designed for busy professionals whereby I don't want to be looking at charts all day long. I only need to put 10 minutes a day. That's it. But it needs a lot of skill. You need to understand how the market behaves so that you're not running headless, like, every time the market goes down. You need to understand that there's absolutely no correlation between the price of the stock and the value of the stock. Has nothing to do with each other in the short term. Nothing. I learned that from Peter Lynch, who's a very great investor. He said there's absolutely no correlation between the value of the stock and the price. Meaning you can get a really bad stock and you see it going up, up, up in the short term, and a really good stock like Meta. Meta at some point of time, beginning of 2022, was $400. And then it went down to $80 by the end of 2022. Meta is a good company. And I go in detail to explain what is a good company. Company is a business, and it makes money. If a company is not doing money, like BlackBerry, it's not a good company. It's not investable. I will buy the BlackBerry, but I'm not going to invest in it. So in the short term, and short term is 2 years. A company can be good and going down for 2 years. And Peter Lynch added a very nice statement afterwards. He said there's 100% correlation between the price of the stock and the value of the stock on the long term. Long term means 5 years plus. What does this mean? If you know that Meta is a good stock and you bought it at 300 for some, and then it goes down to 80, if you know it's a good stock, meaning it will go up in the long term, then everybody in the market will be running, anxious, panicky, selling at 80. Because the normal behavior of a person, if they are not, they did not get taught, like if they do not learn well the stock market, is that they will buy when the stock is at the top, wait till it goes down and sell at the end. If you left yourself, that's what you're gonna do. That's why everybody's losing money, because they have no idea what is a good stock, what is a bad stock. No idea. They don't understand what is the intrinsic value, meaning how to evaluate that stock. Is 80 cheap or not? But if you know that Meta is a good stock, everybody who knows what they're doing, when Meta was 80, they were rambling to get any money they have to buy the stock at 80. Of course, Meta right now is 770 or something. But you need to know that this is a good stock, and you need to be able to, while everybody else is selling and panicky and crying, you need to hold your thing and buy, right? Yeah, like it's not easy because everybody else is doing something
Yeah.
different. That's why Warren Buffett said, you buy when there's blood in the streets. Everybody else is panicky. Of course, you don't buy anything. You buy the good stocks only, which needs the skill
Yeah.
of figuring out what is a good stock.
Good. I love that. I love that. Let's dive into your framework, your growth framework. Do you want to explain what that is and how that helps your clients?
Okay, so very quickly, it's called the growth. G, I already talked about it, which is goal setting. If your goal is to double your money every 2 months, like, forget about everything else because it's not going to happen, right? And even if you double your money month 1 and 2, you're going to lose your capital. What's the purpose of having a lot of profit in month 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then at the end of month 6, you give back the profit plus your capital? So, seen so many stories about this. So G, level set about 24%. It's really good. It's double the market. You double your money in 3 years. That's more than enough. And the reason for that is that we want to mitigate risk. So that's G. R means research stocks. You need to understand and have your own list of a list of good stocks. I start by explaining what is a good stock. And you're not buying lottery tickets. If you buy lottery tickets, it doesn't matter which type of lottery you buy because the chances of you winning doesn't really change whether you buy the lottery ticket or not. That's how small it is. So anyway, but since you're buying businesses, stocks are businesses, not lottery tickets. And if you're buying businesses, you need to know how should you evaluate the business. If you're buying real estate, any real estate investor, when they go and buy a real estate property, they would ask what are the rents, what are the expenses, cash flowing, what is the cap rate, normal person. Even with those people, when they come to the stock market, for some reason, it turns to be like a casino for them. They don't make any, like, they don't understand. Like, if I ask them, if this company is making money, they don't know. But does it have earnings? They don't know. If the earnings, are the earnings going up or down? They don't know. So I go through what is a good stock, definition of good stock, and I help people have their own lists, okay, of good stocks. So that's that.
Could you dive into just a little bit of a news? What would you consider some, just you don't have to go to everything. Can you give us some of the key criteria that you look for to understand a good business?
Okay, so number one, they have revenue and profit. By the way, I have some screeners. There's a lot of free screeners out there. If you just screen by companies that are making profit, half of the companies on the stock market will be thrown away just by this one criteria. It's amazing. I worked with ChatGPT to figure out some numbers. 20% of the companies in the stock market, in the SPY, will cease to exist in 10 years, meaning either their performance is so bad they get kicked out or get bought. 30% have negative earnings, losing money. You should not be. It doesn't matter how sexy the products of these companies are. You should not invest in companies that are losing money. Why? Because you're investing. Like if the company is a failure, not making money or not making money yet, doesn't matter. Why would you put money in it? Like it's kind of a form of gambling. That's not, for me, it's not investing.
Yeah.
There's another third of these companies who are, the average of the market is 10 to 11%. Third of these companies are making less than 11%. So basically, it's underperforming the market. Only 10% of the
Yeah.
companies are really doing well. So revenue, earnings per share, something called free cash flow. If a company has a lot of cash flow, it helps them to do R&D. It helps them to give dividends, helps them to buy other competitors, buy other companies. I don't know if you know, Apple, for example, had a project that they worked on. They paid $10 billion in it, and it failed. You know what I'm talking about? So they tried to do an electric car, and they couldn't do it. That's not the
Yes.
amazing. The amazing story is that if you go to their financials, the financials are so strong that $10 billion is nothing for them. The revenue is in the 360 billion. Like, like it's massive. It's more than country, like the budget of few
Yeah.
countries. So coming back, so earnings, the free cash flow, they don't have a lot of debt. The management is managing properly, meaning good ROIC, ROE. You also want to have them to have something called a moat, meaning the business, it's not easy to go take their clients, right? So, for
Right.
example, I buy an iPhone like I will never buy a Samsung. Not like, by the way, iPhones are not superior than Samsung. I do believe Samsung sometimes is better, but just because they have this, so it jives with my iPad, with my iPod,
The branding, yeah.
yeah.
They've established
So
themselves.
they have a strong moat, much stronger than Samsung, in my opinion. So you want that because you want you want companies that it's not easy, even if they have, and the companies that have moat, even in bad times, they can raise the prices and people will pay. Like
So what's interesting about that context that you say, if you look at a lot of the top performing companies that have those modes, I would say, and maybe I'm guessing here, but from my perspective, is that the the CEO is the face of the business, like Bill Gates,
yeah,
Steve Jobs,
yeah.
Jeff Bezos, and I could name many, many more, where they're up in the front and they're doing content, they're talking to people, they're building a story. The stories are what creates those modes, I think, just
Uh,
from
um,
what I can see.
uh, maybe it's part of it, but I think it's more than that. It's somehow their marketing. It's not just the CEO. Of course, the CEO has to be very responsible and talkative, but I think somehow they created the brand that Apple is the cool brand. Every team wants
Yeah,
that. I don't know how they did it. Like for example, when my daughter was 3 years old and we were in the car and she wants to go out, she wants to go to McDonald's. She can't even say McDonald's, but how success in my head, how successful they are that somehow they taught somebody who cannot read that there's something called McDonald's or McDonald's that and she wants it. So like
yeah, yeah, yes,
so coming back to this, so I talked about G, talked about the R. O is options. You need to understand options because in the beginning it's like Chinese. It's very different and you need to learn about it. W is you need to implement. Um, you need to implement, which is the paper trading, because you cannot learn how to swim by reading books. You cannot learn how to ride horses by watching YouTube. Okay, you gotta go to the stable, you gotta go to the swimming pool. You need to implement, and you need to implement in a way whereby you don't die. So you want to drive, don't go.
the W is doing the work.
Yeah, doing the work, and then T is train your psychology. You need to have a grip on your fear and greed. If you're too fearful,
Oh,
you will do nothing,
yeah,
or you're gonna be in the analysis paralysis mode. If you're too greedy, you're gonna lose your money very quickly. We all need a healthy dose of both. You can't go fear a lot because you will do nothing, you will not invest at all. And if you're totally into the ROI, you will go sell your personal house and buy lottery tickets. All what you see is ROI. So you need a healthy dose of both. And the last thing is H is habitual learning. You need to learn a lot because there's no limit to that. So the pillars basically is theory and knowledge. Number two, coaching, one-on-one coaching. Sorry, no, not one-on-one, small group coaching. whereby you get feedback. That's, the agile methodology is that you get feedback every week.
Yeah.
Do that. Third is structure. When we're all very busy, and when you go to a program that you meet every week with somebody, they're going to ask you about the homework. You know that even if you didn't do the homework for a week, it's time to reset, renew the promise to yourself. We all need that. Even me, right? Even me, we're so busy, and we need that type of structure. So, kind of that's the growth system, and it's working well. It's basically coming from, I took a lot of courses, and I sat down and said, what do I need? Like, if I'm starting again, what do I need to, because every course I went and paid to had its good things and not so good things. So, um, the things I wished that were there, I put it in.
So good. I love this. One of the big takeaways I have from that system is that balance between your greed and your fear.
Yeah.
And in real estate investing, I think if you don't know how to manage that, and it's either overthinking or taking the wrong type of risk, a lot of that comes from, first of all, having a system, which is what you've developed, but it's also about understanding what that even is, right? It's like, what does that even look like for some people? Having those examples between the fear and the greed. And I think that is probably one of the most powerful things that you could ever help somebody with inside of any business, but especially investing, because that's where the mistakes happen.
Yeah.
That's where the failure happens,
I think it,
isn't it? From what I think.
I think in real estate, there's a lot of fear because it's such a big amount as a starting investment. I see a lot of fear people going into real estate in the beginning because they need to probably pay a big chunk of money to, you can pay $10, $100 and start stock investing, but real estate is not that easy to go into. So I see a lot of fear in real estate. That's a problem. And in stocks, I see a lot of greed. Nobody in real estate buys a property thinking it will double in a month. But
Yeah.
there are people in stocks who want that, who are seeking that. But I've never seen somebody in real estate who's insane enough to think that, yeah, I'm going to double my money in 1 month. People will laugh at him.
Yeah.
I think psychology wise is a little bit different as well in dealing with both. It's like you have to manage your fear going into real estate, and in stocks, you need to manage your greed. Anyway,
Wow.
different animals.
I love that. But that is the fundamental principle of having good mindset and investing, I think. And that you have that in your program is amazing. And I really love that. I mean, your whole system is pretty well grounded and rounded. But I think for me, that stands out because I see people a lot. And we have a coaching business. We do business coaching and we do real estate coaching. And also we've got different mindsets in that space as well. But that is the key. That's the key thing, right? Is understanding knowing your emotions and balancing the fear and the high risk, like the greed, because that's what's driving so many people these days in their business. They're afraid of taking action, or they're making irresponsible jumping into stuff without having the foundations and the fundamentals. Really love this. This is so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing all of this information.
Thank you.
Let's dive a little bit into this because we're kind of running a little bit out of time now. But I want to understand some of your so so we've got people in our community that most of our listeners are coaches, consultants, experts, speakers. You've been in this coaching space now for a little while, right?
Yes.
I mean, what are some of the key lessons that you've learned about your business in terms of resilience and adaptability and the stuff that you've been going through in your business personally?
What I learned personally,
Yeah, yeah,
for me, one of the main growth things is that because I was an engineer and all what I did was project management and stuff, I've never had to sell anything or market anything. Okay. So for me, now that I'm venturing into something that depends on me going out on social media, like I'm not the type of person who do videos on social media or or get myself out, but so it's been a huge learning curve for me, and I'm so happy with it because I'm pushing myself to do something that I'm not comfortable with, right? I don't like to be on camera. Just not me. Um, but I went through the phases of denial and like, okay, fine, I'm gonna do it, but I'm so afraid. Like, just the fact that to change my LinkedIn profile from a project manager or professor to somebody who's coaching was such a huge mental block for me. So, and all of my fears and my like psychological problems are coming as a as a resistance to what I need to do to grow the business, right? So I don't like selling. Now I have to make selling. Now I have to sell, and I have to be comfortable doing it, and I have to be good at it in a way that does not contradict with my values. Is that I will never say something. I will never tell somebody you're gonna double your money in 2 months so I can make a sale. I will never do that. Actually, I tell them the opposite. You cool down. What you're saying is not gonna happen. Don't come to the program. This is so. But anyway, I'm figuring it out. So the amount of learning that I'm doing in marketing, funnels, and all this stuff, marketing and sales is humongous. It's pushing me out of my comfort zone, which I love it because I'm liking the person I'm becoming. It's like when you, where I don't know who said that. Probably I don't know who said that. So it's just make a really big goal, not because you're going to be happy to achieve it. It's because of the person you're become in the process of achieving it. That's the price.
Good. I love that. And for all of our listeners, we're all building businesses incrementally. We're all in the as a coach or a consultant or as an expert or as a speaker. We all want to serve people. We all want to help people and get them to that next level. And in that means you have to put yourself out there. You have to put the extra yards in. You have to do the things, learn new technologies, new things like funnels and all that kind of stuff, which might have been like I came from construction. And in construction, I don't know what a sales pitch was or a
Yeah.
funnel. Like those things they were like alien to me, and I had to. And exactly what you just said, you put yourself in a place where you're going to build that goal, and all these things become part of the fabric of the stuff that you have to learn. One of the things I hear, same as with trading, it's so easy. Anybody can do this thing. But with coaching any business, you have to put in the commitment. You have to learn those things. Can you please tell me in your perspective, how do you break through your barriers or your blockages that you go through to build your business?
It's an endless mode of problem solving and managing my psychology. So problem solving means like you look at the problem as regardless of how big it is in a way that is pragmatic, in a way that is okay, what can we do? What is under our control? How urgent it is? So the whole day is a big list of a lot of things are thrown at me. And then I have to always prioritize to figure out things I'm going to do today versus tomorrow. It's okay. This can go for tomorrow. Things that are very important,
Priorities, yeah.
things that are key levers. What is the top three things that will move things today?
Right.
Because I like to procrastinate. I like to do everything other than these three things. So it's very important that I know what are these three things and then manage myself when I'm down. Because sometimes I do a lot of and nothing seems to be happen. I do all this work, all these ads, and I did this event that nobody came to, like very small people compared to what I want. So you need to have also this mental stamina to pick yourself up and say, okay, fine, we tried this. Okay, what can we do better next time? Maybe instead of doing that, I'll do this instead of a webinar, I'll do a podcast. And it's constant trying things with the R&D as well. Like you're researching and development and you're doing stuff to try to figure it out. It's sometimes very annoying, sometimes very depressing, sometimes very exciting. It's just like it's a roller coaster.
It is brilliant. It's an enjoyable thing, but that's the thing. It's failing forward, failing fast, getting up and keeping going. So tell me, it's been an amazing journey listening to your story. I love your system. I love that you're helping people in this wealth building space. Give my If you can just give one quick feedback to our listeners, what piece of advice would you give to people building their business in this day and age? And then finally, just let us know how people can get hold of you if they want to get in touch with you.
Advice to the people in business is be strong, enjoy the ride. Okay. Like you're transforming not just the business, you're transforming yourself. So sometimes it's going to be tough. A lot of times it's going to be tough, not sometimes. And you got to enjoy that and just be always in a mood of how can I pick myself up? What can I do? Like be positive, be positive, and it's the solution is in the actions. If you did an action, didn't work, you got to do another action. Don't stop. If you stop, you're done. So the solution, the the key is in the actions you're going to do. You can do a lot of actions. In the beginning, 9 of them would be bad, 1 would be good. That's fine. Next time you're at it, the next 10, 8 will be and 2 good. Next time, 7 and 3. So figure out what is your next action. Pick yourself up. How can people come to me? So there's YouTube channel, Legacy Wealth Builder Academy, or my website, legacywealthbuilderacademy.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. Yeah, come follow me.
So we'll put all of that information in the show notes and people can come and catch up with you. Guys, this has been an awesome session. Fadi, I'm so honored to have spent this time with you. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll talk to you again soon. Have a good one.
I enjoyed it very much. Thank you.